Hi, my name is Carl Pearson, and I'm doing this video to explain what newspapers in this country should do to reverse their downward trend towards extinction. As an antitrust attorney, I see the problem as one of competition, where the newspapers have failed to identify the most relevant market in which they are dealing. Let me explain. In the 1940s, there were 15 to 20 daily newspapers in New York City. Today there are 4, the New York Times, the Daily News, the New York Post, and the Wall Street Journal. Half of them are owned by Rupert Murdoch. The trend with newspapers in this country is a reduction in newspapers through merger or acquisition into the single surviving daily newspaper in most American cities, with the next step in the process being that even those newspapers which have wound up being monopolies are beginning to drop like flies. And there's a reason for this. In New York City, the New York Post is reportedly losing $30 to $50 million per year. The New York Times, we know, self-admittedly is in financial trouble. The Daily News must be having financial trouble as well. And who knows about the Wall Street Journal? There may not be a Wall Street left to buy the paper. The prevailing view of what's happening is that Craigslist, a company making pre-tax profits of about $10 million a year on estimated revenues of $20 million a year, has been able to wipe out an industry of 1,000 daily newspapers in the U.S. by offering classified advertising that the newspapers have survived up to now through their classified advertising. Daily newspaper classified advertising was about $16 billion in the past year and is rapidly declining because of Craigslist, the 7th most popular website. At least that's popular conception. An interesting note, eBay has just purchased 25% interest in Craigslist. Could a monopoly of eBay, PayPal, and Craigslist become the successor method of providing daily news to America? We'll have to wait and see. But I think that daily newspapers can turn around if they listen to what I'm saying and really look at the market they're trying to serve. And here is what I think is happening and what can be done to reverse the trend. The major story in the U.S. and world at this time is the economy. Newspapers have been notorious in their lack of fair coverage of economic issues. Instead of looking as investigative reporters for ways to make things better for the public from an economic standpoint, for their readers, the newspapers have generally been reprinters of press releases from the established economic interests who expect the newspapers to support their views and, up to now, have not found any fault with the way it's happening. Their expectations have been fully realized, which is why we are where we are today, in an economy rapidly heading for a depression. Government and the press are fighting against saying that the country is in a depression by permitting the government to release false and misleading employment figures so that the employment rate doesn't seem as bad as it really is. Here are the persons counted as fully employed: full-time workers who have been cut back to part-time, workers whose unemployment insurance has run out so they're no longer counted as unemployed, managers, executives, and others who were earning $50,000 to $100,000 a year or more, but now have a full-time job at Home Depot or a similar retailer, earning $8 to $15 an hour, and persons who have given up looking for a job. The real unemployment rate is probably 20 to 25% and going higher. Imagine if a local newspaper started publishing ways in which the local residents could bring prosperity to their town, village, or city. Wouldn't this, in today's environment, be the sensible thing to do, assuming that residents can still afford 50 cents to pay for a daily newspaper? If a newspaper solicited and used ideas to help the community, instead of reporting on each fire and automobile accident, the public would start buying the newspaper, circulation would go up, and advertisers would most assuredly follow, and newspapers could save themselves. What has happened is that newspapers have failed to identify the market in which they are competing. The competition is in excellence of reporting, that is, the quality of the newspaper from the standpoint of the actual and potential readers. If the newspapers would keep that in mind and give less support to the established organizations of elected officials, government agencies, public figures, and nonprofit institutions, and more support for the well-being of their readers, the newspapers would return to their rightful place in the community. I have tried without success to get any major daily in the United States to publish my willingness to set up a tuition-free or low-cost, that is $2,000 per year tuition, equivalency college in any town, village, county, or city in the United States. I don't know why a college charging no more than a package of cigarettes each day is not newsworthy. Don't you believe that it's newsworthy? Wouldn't you like to hear about that? When households who can't pay their mortgages are far less able to pay $30,000 to $75,000 per year to a distant college for each child of college age they have going to college. Also, I have tried without success to interest any major daily to report on my website, which is designed to take over the diminishing job market and provide income of about $100 to $200 per day per participant, and to create the equivalent of more than 10 million jobs in the United States within several months. As a free task marketplace, very unique and obviously worthwhile, but not newsworthy to any daily in the country, whose readers are losing their homes, unable to afford college for their sons and daughters, and with the dailies themselves going out of business because residents obviously see little benefit in bad reporting on the downward spiraling economy. The dailies have not done their job, and it is their own time to say goodbye as failed institutions unless they start caring about their readers and their problems. If a daily or even a weekly newspaper wants to see what it could do to create prosperity for its area and the population in the area, their readers, it should look at my website, election-issues-us.com, and report on what its area and residents can do to create prosperity for themselves, while others without such information are doomed for rougher economic times. My name is Carl Pearson. I have discussed most of these concerns in other YouTube videos and in several websites, particularly lawmall.com, that's LAWMALL.com, and election-issues-us.com.